أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم أما بعد السلام عليكم. So don't worry, inshallah, we're not going to be teaching the exact path of Shaytaan. The reason that we're talking about this is because there's a verse of the Quran that mentions أعوذ من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تتبعوا خطوات الشيطان. O man, O people, O believers, do not tread or do not follow the steps of Shaytaan. So from this verse, the question is, what are the steps of Shaytaan? And why is Allah telling us to avoid, right? You can only avoid something if you can understand what it is, right? If someone says avoid this person, and you're like, what person? He's like, that's all I'm going to tell you. Just avoid this person. You're walking down the road, you think everyone's got to avoid, you don't know who to avoid. So when we say avoid the path of Shaytaan, you need to then understand what that path is then to avoid it. Because you don't know, you may be on it without knowing. And so we mentioned a few of the traits. We said that if you were to imagine two mountains, and you've got a path that leads up to one mountain, and then goes across over to the other mountain, and there is the end destination of Shaytaan, which is hell. And he tries to slowly get you on this path. And we mentioned what are the first few things that Shaytaan does. He firstly makes you forget the Creator, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Judgment Day, and death. And if you look at the atheists and the like, this is what's happened. They've forgetting. They actively don't believe in the Creator. They actively don't believe in Judgment Day. So these are the traits Shaytaan puts into you to then facilitate your destruction. And then we also mentioned what? Following the crowd. That as Muslims, we're trend setters. We don't follow the trend, right? The Prophet ﷺ has set the trend. The beard for us is always the trend, right? The kufi is always a trend. The miswak is always a trend. With the way the Prophet ﷺ, everything he did, the way he slept, what he ate, that is our trend, that is what we follow. And so we don't follow the crowd. And Shaytaan, he does this. He makes you follow those people who themselves don't know where they're going. It's like you see a bunch of sheep and then you decide to follow them. There's loads of these sheep walking around. Let me follow them and see where they're going. Right? And then the third is having false idols and role models. And we mentioned that our youth, they don't have any role models to see. They've turned the TV on. Who do they see? They don't see what we call examples of prophethood. They don't see examples of what a Muslim should be. And so it's up to us as men in our homes and women in our homes is to show them role models, right? Because if they're saying, oh, dad just sits on the couch all day, watches Netflix, maybe that's what I need to do when I grow up. Or they say, oh, mom, all she does is, doesn't do anything. She also sits and watches Netflix. Got to be careful what I say, yeah? She also sits and watches Netflix. Maybe I need to do the same. So as men and women in our homes, we need to show our children what a role model is. They see you reading Quran, they would read Quran. Once someone asked my teacher, they go, what can we do to bring up our children? Where can we send them? Do we need to migrate? Do we need to leave the country? He goes, look, simple. Let them see you be a Muslim, they will become a Muslim. Don't worry about outsourcing your Islam to other people. You yourself become someone that's worthy to follow, they will follow you. Right? Moving on, and then we mentioned having a narrow and wrong way of life. Only thinking life is the moment. That life is now, earth, that's it. I'm here, I'm going to enjoy myself, and then whatever happens after, I don't care. As Muslims, we see the whole picture. We see the barzakh, we see Judgment Day, we see heaven and hell. When we talk to people, we engage with people, that's what's going in our minds. That is this worth engaging in? Is it going to mess up my akhirah? Is my grave going to become constricted or widened based off this interaction or based off this thing I'm doing? And then moving on, we also mentioned following the ego. That Shaytaan, he puts your nafs first. Right? And the Ramadan, what does Ramadan do? It gets your nafs and completely destroys it. Lack of sleep, lack of food, lack of water. Right? Everything that you normally would do, it becomes haram. Or not sleep, but you still have to wake up for Sehri and Fajr and Tahajjud time, right? These things become what norm we do, it will become now what? No, don't do that, now do this. Allah's trying to teach you, leave your ego, yeah? And once, but what we end up doing, unfortunately, is we eat more in Ramadan than we do outside Ramadan. We probably sleep more in Ramadan. MashaAllah, sometimes I used to go to a certain place where brothers sitting at the itikaf. They sleep from Dhuhr to Asr. They wake up and then they sleep from Asr to Maghrib. They do iftari and then it's like, MashaAllah, it's like a itikaf of sleep. Yeah? Meaning Ramadan is meant to be going against these things to help you. So when you come out of Ramadan, you can eat less, you can do less, you can sleep less, and it allows you then to do more worship of Allah. And then we mentioned loving the dunya and then engaging in unlawful pleasures. Now today, that journey continues. These are the 6 things we already mentioned. What else does Shaytaan do? What are the other tricks he makes you think and habits he gets you into? And one of them is what? Living in the moment. Let's enjoy now. Forget accountability. Just do what, like you see something, a desire, and you just want to engage with it now. You want to enjoy it now. You're not looking at the accountability. What's going to happen? This is what happens with drug addicts. They get that buzz, they get that pleasure there and then, and they're not thinking of the consequences. What's this going to lead to? What's going to happen to my family? What's going to happen to me? No, it's just that instant pleasure, and they're not thinking about what's going to happen. So this is the trick Shaytaan puts people into, that they just live for the moment. And then the second thing Shaytaan also does is what? Bad company. And it mentioned in a hadith, what الرَّجُلُ عَلَى دِينِ خَلِيلِهِ, a man is upon the religion. Look at the word the Prophet uses, deen. He's upon the religion of his brother, meaning his companion. Which is very interesting. Why is he using the word religion? Because your friends is what you follow. Your friends are what you follow. And how many times have we heard the story, oh, this brother was really good, but he ended up going into drugs because of this people. Oh, this brother was really good, he ended up going to prison because of this person. This brother was really good, he ended up doing something because of this person. It's your company makes a massive difference. And as a parent, as a guardian, your job is to facilitate good company for your children. Not to send your kids off to the wolves and say, inshallah, he'll come back alive. Maybe he'll come back with Islam. No, you create good company for your children, and so that they can nurture the Islam that you intend. But if you send them off, and then you're like, oh no, I'll make dua, we'll see what happens. You got to take the means, and then you take the steps. And then you make dua. You don't just send them out, okay, Putter, these guys look a bit rough, but yeah, go and see what happens. Allah will guide you. Yeah, and then he comes back, he's on drugs. You're like, what happened there? Well, obviously, what would you expect? Right? And we even know scientifically, people follow company. They did a test. They put people in an elevator and they all face one way, the wrong way. Normally face the door. They go, no, you all face the other way. And they go, when people came into the elevator, normally everyone faces the door, but because he saw everyone else facing the wrong way, they go, people started to follow. They started to look the wrong way. But humans there's something inside us to follow the people around us. So it's important that you surround yourself and your children with people with like-mindedness people. And then it's mentioned that Shaytaan, he puts what into you? Heedlessness, ghafla. And it's amazing what Imam Junaid, one of the greatest awliya, he mentions about heedlessness. He goes, heedlessness is a virus that breeds all disease. That the ghafla, what is heedless? Heedlessness is when you're so distracted by the dunya that you forget about the akhirah, you forget about what's actually important. It's like example, you say to someone, you need to go to London. What would a person of ghafla do? He'd stop halfway on the motorway, pull his phone out, and just sit there all day on watching whatever you guys watch on YouTube. I'll just watch BJJ videos, but people watch different things, right? So the guys are sitting on the motorway and he's just watching fights and football scores and basketball scores, and he's just sitting there all day. Is he ever going to get to London? No. He's become heedless of his true destination. And so Shaytaan, he does that, he distracts you. And they say that the dunya is distraction. But people aren't made to be distracted. People are made to have a purpose. The dunya is made to distract you, but you weren't made to be distracted. You were made for Allah. But what we've done is we've seen the dunya and we understand it's a test, it's a distraction, but we go towards it anyway. And then we lose our purpose. Which then brings us to the fourth point. That Shaytaan, he makes you what? Without purpose. He gives you this idea. There's no meaning of life. There's no purpose. Or sometimes you ask Muslims, we've been Muslim for 30 years. If I ask you right now, what is your purpose? You don't need to answer. But if I ask people, what is your purpose? Think to yourself, what's my purpose? Some of you are going to be saying, oh, it's to become, I want to fly. Some are going to be like, no, I want to maybe become an alim. I want to speak Arabic. I want to become muhaddith. I want to become mufti. Everyone has different purposes. But the true purpose is what Allah sent you was one reason, to attain His pleasure. That's it. Everything you do should be looking through that prism of how can you attain the pleasure of Allah. And if whatever you're doing in life is not going towards that, then understand that what you're doing is either wasting your time or you're in ghafla. That's simple. How do you see if you're in ghafla or if you're being guided? Is you see, whatever I'm doing now, is it going to attain the pleasure of Allah? And if it's not, then you know you've made the wrong decision. And inshallah, we'll stop here. And then we'll talk about the 4 conditions. So now we've gone up the mountain now. Imagine now the path has been set with all of these laziness, ego, dunya, having no purpose. And then we finally get to the mountain now where we're divided into 4 things. And we'll cover that inshallah tomorrow. سبحانك وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك أعوذ من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ربنا إننا آمنا فاغفر لنا ذنوبنا وقنا عذاب النار اللهم إنك عفو كريم تحب العفو فاعف عنا وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين آمين. Inshallah.